I want to give a broad overview of this topic. We're going to have people talking about more specialized things throughout the rest of the sessions, but I really want to give you a view of what is possible. And this is from two different perspectives. This is from the perspective of people who want to be educated and the people doing the education. Okay. So let's see if this works. Oh, it does. There we go. Did you not share? But you needed to new share. No screen. That's it. Oh yeah, do the. Oh no, share sound is not a problem for mine. I don't have anything fancy. Okay, can they see it now?
Yes.
Woo, thank you. Okay, so what I really want to do is talk about just all the different ways in which we can engage. And the point of this is that some of you are at the sort of venues that we want to engage with, and some of you are the people who want to do the engagement. Okay. We have formal ed, and that's actually down near the bottom, down here, where there's multiple ways in which we can engage at the formal level. So, for instance, and I'll show a slide in a second with that. But this afternoon, when we're doing our breakouts, you'll get to see the spectroscopy demo that I have that actually fits with the standards, whether you're talking about the next generation standards that a lot of states use, or in Texas, it's the TEKS, because Texas is weird. But being able to connect into what is actually being taught in the classroom. A lot of K-12 teachers are in the position of they have to teach a lot of stuff, and the kids are being tested on it. So if you can find ways to slip in to when they do moon phases in elementary school, when they do light and color in middle school, and find ways to bring in your outreach. And it doesn't even have to be eclipse stuff, but for eclipse stuff, there's multiple places you can bring that in, and even places you might not expect. So my spectroscopy demo has been used in a chemistry class in high school, sophomore level chemistry class. They do a lot with the color and the chemicals. They do like the flame tests, and we've taken it in there and then managed to introduce the idea that, here's the colors, and then talk about the eclipse just briefly. But then you're really kind of pulling them in with things that they're learning anyway, and it helps the teachers. But a lot of schools also do these science nights where you have stations that the kids go through. You can do something there, whether it's the spectroscopy demo that I'll show later or some other demonstration. There's lots of things you can do in that. If you have a nice venue, you can have field trips come to you. And so so when I was at Mizzou, I had an observatory that was fantastic for this, and I would have a lot of school trips come through. In fact, in the spring semester, it would be pretty much every week I'd have a school trip come through. But also doing professional development for teachers. Trish will probably remember that I talked to the teachers in Perryville in the week before the eclipse in 2017. I also talked to teachers in other places across the state of Missouri. But there are other places that we can do this. So starting at the top, libraries, I know that we're going to get some information about libraries later. Libraries are often looking for programming. I think I spoke in every library on the path of totality in Missouri. I actually added them up, and I did over 100 presentations, just in 2017. Oh, it went forward. I didn't mean it to do that. Somebody's pressing things. Nope. Okay, that's weird. I'm obviously just getting too excited. The other thing, and I'm doing this now again in San Antonio, but things like Rotary clubs. This is a really great way to make connections and find more invitations. If you are in a Rotary club, we love to talk about this stuff. Invite us. If you want to talk to Rotary clubs, I'm very happy to share what I have in slides. But these are the sort of places where you make unexpected connections. So for instance, I ended up connecting to not just our local ABC station, but they had a whole chain of stations along the path. And that helped build a whole thing that we were doing that was presenting on the local ABC stations at various places on the path to totality in 2017. Chambers of Commerce often have meetings where they're like, yeah, come and talk to us. Don't be afraid to just reach out to them and say, hey, do you want to talk? For Missouri, I already had a reputation. I'm notorious. So, I was already being invited. But in San Antonio, I just reached out to the Rotary clubs and said, hey, do you want to hear about this? I've done 7 in the last 3 months. So, it's not hard once you reach out. Then you've got the more unusual venues. So for instance, national parks. I know some of you already do national parks, but a lot of the time, if you reach out, they're really up for this. Now, and again, this is something where if you're on vacation and you happen to be going there, do it on the side. My husband used to teach a trip to Yellowstone every year. So we were up there in 2017 in June. And I did both a whole session where we had a solar telescope between Old Faithful and the visitor center. I worked with the national park to get permission. And we just sat there while my husband was taking students off around different sites and showed everybody the sun. And this was with my kids who were 10 and 13 at the time, or maybe a little younger. So, you know, there's lots of things like that you can do. And then I also gave a public talk at the Tetons. Native American reservations. Around here, there's a lot of opportunities. We heard from Joe, who I don't think is here, who's from the Pueblo of Acoma. He was here yesterday and he spoke up a little bit about that, working with, you know, and that was more about the transportation stuff. But find the connections. Now, you need to be really careful about this. You don't want to just say, hey, you need to hear from me. You need to be culturally sensitive. I worked with someone who was already working, and this was, again, up in Wyoming, because we go to Wyoming every year. But, you know, this was the Wind River Reservation, which was in the path of totality. So there's lots of places like that. I even spoke in the big prison in Missouri that has the gas chamber and is kind of scary. One of the most satisfying experiences I've ever had in terms of connecting. In that case, you can't take anything in. So you need to be able to express everything without any slides or anything. You can take handouts, that's it, okay? Pubs and bars, well, a lot of you are already familiar with Astronomy on Tap, but there's a lot of places that will be love to do that. In fact, one of the pubs that I spoke at was a microbrewery, and I have a beer named after me called Speck. But, you know, so you can see the list here. There's a lot of different things. The farmers market, this is something that we haven't started doing in San Antonio yet, but we, you know, take a solar telescope, set it up and get people to come to you, and just doing that one-on-one engagement. Festivals are a great place. So both the festivals there are actually in Columbia, Missouri, but thinking about, you know, go to a Comic-Con, go to, you know, South by Southwest. In this case, we actually set up an artful science tent, and we did a whole bunch of things showing people. So again, the color thing goes down well. True False is a documentary film festival. And then lots of opportunities. I gave a talk in the Gateway Arts in St. Louis. There's lots of places where people are always looking for programming, and the same things that you use, whether you're using it in K through 12, whether you're using it in an informal environment, honestly, it's not that different. The language you use might be a little different. Like if I'm talking to a third grader, I'm not going to use the same language as I use with the grad class. But my spectroscopy demo gets used in all of those venues. My grad students are here. You can ask them. I've used it in the grad class. You know, you go into different depth, you're using it in different ways, but mostly the same things can be used. The other thing is, and this was mentioned yesterday, don't assume that people know anything. I always start, even if it is an astronomy audience, like a bunch of professional astronomers, I start with an eclipse is the moon gets between the earth and the sun. That is the best place to start. All right, I'm going to stop talking because I've kind of given you a lot of options, but I just want to show you this. This is the spectroscopy demo. This is actually taken using the glasses that we use for this over the lens of an iPhone. And this is my child. He is now 16. But this is, you know, this was in one of those ones where it was, you know, they come through the different stations. This one was actually connecting into the 7th grade science class. So, you know, again, multiple ways you can use this, and we'll be demonstrating this in one of the sessions later. And in fact, a lot of my students were demoing it upstairs in the museum yesterday. And I'm going to stop talking there and hand it off to the next person.